Respect is not asked for. It is commanded by presence, by action, and by self-control. It's easy to think that respect comes from titles, money, or charm. But have you ever wondered why some men seem to command respect effortlessly, while others are always chasing it, never quite reaching it? Why do some men instantly earn respect from women, while others constantly chase it and fail? The truth is, respect isn't something you can force. It's not about flashy gestures or trying to impress. It's about something far deeper, a principle that has stood the test of time. There is one core belief, rooted in ancient Stoic philosophy, that will shift the dynamic instantly. There is one principle, that if you understand and apply it, you will never be disrespected again. That principle is self-mastery. Stoicism teaches that the man who is unmoved by the chaos around him, the one who remains steady and in control of himself, is the one who commands respect without needing to ask for it. Women sense that strength, whether they consciously realize it or not, and they react accordingly. Respect is not granted because you demand it. It's earned by the way you carry yourself, by the strength of your decisions, and the unwavering control you have over your emotions. In a world full of noise, it is the man who remains silent, grounded, and resolute that stands out. Respect does not come from looks, status, or charm. It comes from your relationship with yourself. In this video, we'll explore the Stoic mindset that empowers you to shift that dynamic permanently, to stop chasing respect and start commanding it naturally. You'll learn how to become the kind of man who is immune to disrespect simply by embodying a way of life that exudes calm strength and unwavering confidence. In relationships, especially romantic ones, respect is not granted based on effort, charm, or words. It is earned through inner stillness. The man who is at peace with himself, who seeks no approval and is afraid of no loss, commands respect without ever needing to ask for it. When you show that you need her attention, validation, or love, you surrender your power. You become emotionally dependent, and dependency breeds contempt. Neediness may attract sympathy, but never admiration, and in the end, admiration is what sustains attraction. The Stoics understood this. They taught that the highest form of power comes from mastering oneself, not others. Detachment is not coldness, it is composure. It is the art of staying rooted in who you are, regardless of who comes or goes. A tale of two men. Picture two men texting a woman they care about. Man 1 checks his phone constantly. He overthinks every reply, panics at slow responses, and floods the conversation with reassurance, apology, and eagerness. His emotional world depends on her next message. Man 2 sends a message and goes back to his purpose. He doesn't need to obsess or chase. His energy is grounded. His mood does not shift with her silence or attention. Which one do you think she respects? Which one pulls her in without trying? Exactly. Detachment is not about being aloof or emotionally unavailable. It's about self-possession. When you no longer fear losing her, you begin to speak, act, and lead from clarity, not anxiety. You stop compromising your values to avoid conflict. You stop explaining yourself endlessly. You stop performing. You simply are. And ironically, that unshakable presence is what draws people closer. He who is not a slave to desire cannot be controlled. Epictetus. Desire, when unchecked, becomes weakness. It makes you chase what you should attract. It makes you overgive, over-explain, overthink. But the man who is free from the need to have anyone suddenly becomes someone others want to be around. Why? Because he is whole. And wholeness is rare. Self-control is the foundation of self-respect. And when you respect yourself, others follow. Reclaim your time. Don't linger in chats and emotional negotiations. Value your schedule, your work, your solitude. Pause before reacting. When something triggers you, silence, distance, criticism, pause. Observe. Don't rush to fix or defend. Stay purpose-driven. Your goals, your mission, your direction. These come first. When you live on purpose, you become less reactive to others' emotions. Embrace loss. As part of life, she may leave. The dynamic may change. That is reality. Fear of loss creates weakness. Acceptance of loss creates strength. A mountain does not chase the wind. It does not move because of storms. It simply stands. You are most respected when you are most stable, when you are centered in your own values, not her moods. So, become the man who chooses, not the one who clings. Need nothing. Command everything. When she tests you, when she pokes, disrespects, or flirts with your emotional boundaries, the question isn't whether you'll notice. It's how you'll respond. The average man reacts. He snaps back, defends himself endlessly, or retreats into silence with resentment building behind his eyes. But the Stoic man, he sees the game for what it is. He doesn't react. He responds. Calmly, though deliberately, without giving her control over his emotional state. This kind of calmness isn't weakness. It's not detachment out of fear or avoidance. It's power, focused, restrained, and rooted in self-mastery. The man who owns himself fully doesn't need to prove it with volume or aggression. He becomes the steady center in any storm. Picture this. You're criticized in public. Maybe your partner makes a subtle jab at your intelligence or mocks a decision you made. One man immediately rushes to defend himself, explaining every detail, looking around the room to make sure no one thinks less of him. His anxiety leaks through every word. The Stoic man, however, doesn't take the bait. He meets her gaze, pauses just long enough to signal thoughtfulness, and calmly replies, "That's your opinion." No anger, no apology, just presence. His stillness says more than his words ever could. This kind of strength, this refusal to react impulsively, creates gravity. It draws respect. It earns trust, not because it's manipulative, but because it shows something rare, emotional discipline. He's not shaken by fleeting moods, not swayed by temporary tests. He is a cliff, standing firm as the waves crash again and again, unmoved by the fury that would topple lesser men. Marcus Aurelius captured this best when he wrote, "Be like the cliff, against which the waves continually break, but it stands firm and tames the fury of the water." A Stoic man does not fear her storms. He becomes the anchor in them. And that, more than charm or charisma, is what makes him unforgettable. There is a subtle but powerful shift that happens in a man's life when he stops living for approval and starts living by principle. At first, it may feel selfish, even cold, to prioritize your path over someone else's feelings. But what appears selfish in the moment is, in truth, self-respect, and it commands respect in return. A man grounded in his mission becomes immovable, and that energy is unmistakably attractive. Women instinctively sense the difference between a man who lives for their reaction and a man who lives from his internal compass. The modern man is constantly pulled in directions that compromise his integrity, whether it's canceling plans to avoid conflict, reshaping himself to appear more likable, or giving in to emotional guilt. These seem like small concessions, but over time, they build resentment and erode respect. The moment you abandon your path to accommodate her mood, you lose frame. And when a man loses frame, everything else falls apart. Women test boundaries, not because they want to lead, but because they want to feel the strength of your leadership. They want to know your direction has weight. If you fold at every emotional gust, she cannot trust your steadiness. If you stand firm with kindness and clarity, you show her safety, not through compliance, but through presence. A Stoic man doesn't fight for dominance. He doesn't raise his voice or demand control. His dominance is silent. It lies in the unshakable clarity of his values. Take, for example, the simple situation where a woman asks you to cancel an important obligation to spend time with her. A man who lacks direction might bend immediately, eager to please and avoid upsetting her. He may win her temporary smile, but he loses her long-term respect. The Stoic man, however, responds calmly. I'd love to spend time with you, but I've made a commitment I need to honor. Let's plan for later. No apology, no over-explaining, just grounded, respectful clarity. This isn't stubbornness, it's structure, and structure creates trust. Women may resist your boundaries in the moment, but they feel safer around a man who lives by them. She knows where you stand. She knows you cannot be guilted, manipulated, or thrown off your center. That reliability is rare, and rare is valuable. Stoicism teaches us that freedom comes from detachment. Epictetus said, "Do what you must. Let them talk." The opinions of others, including the woman in your life, should never outweigh your personal code. Your mission is not to be liked, it is to be respected. And even more than that, it is to respect yourself. When you lead with purpose, you become a lighthouse in the fog. Others may try to pull you into their emotional tides, but you remain lit, still, and guiding. When a woman sees that you do not live by her reactions, but by your own values, she may resist at first. But over time, she will feel more secure, more attracted, and more drawn to your gravity. Why? Because you are not just another man adjusting himself to please her. You are a man who could walk away if needed, but chooses to stay. And nothing commands more respect than that. There is a moment, a shift so subtle yet undeniable, when everything changes. She tried every familiar tactic, the teasing, the silence, the sudden emotional distance. She poked at your pride, questioned your intentions, and waited for you to react. But you didn't. You didn't chase her when she pulled away. You didn't explain yourself endlessly when she questioned you. You didn't lose your temper when she tested your boundaries. You remained steady, grounded, calm. And then it happened. She looked at you differently. She may not say anything right away, but the energy shifts. The games stop. The edge in her voice softens. The defiance melts into curiosity. For the first time, she realizes you are not like other men. You are not someone she can emotionally toss around. You are not trying to earn her approval. You are not trying to win her over. You are simply present, fully, unapologetically, and unshakably. This moment is not about power in the traditional sense. It's not about being dominant. It's about the power of inner discipline, the strength of a man who does not lose himself in reaction to the behavior of others. She realizes you are not afraid to lose her. And that, paradoxically, is when she begins to truly respect you. You don't need to raise your voice. You don't need to prove anything. Your stillness speaks louder than anger. Your presence speaks louder than words. She cannot move you, yet you remain connected. She cannot manipulate you, yet you are attentive. You are not controlling her, but you are in control of yourself. And in a world full of men who seek validation through reaction, your restraint is rare. That rarity makes you magnetic. It's not that you don't feel. It's that you have trained yourself to feel without being ruled by it. You've learned to hold tension without collapsing. You've learned to listen without absorbing. You've learned to love without losing yourself. This is not detachment. It's power under command. The Stoics knew this well. Seneca wrote, He who conquers himself is the mightiest warrior. In that quote lies the essence of this turning point. You didn't conquer her. You didn't win the argument. You didn't beat the test. You simply conquered your impulse to prove, to please, to control. You mastered your emotional response, and in doing so, you changed the entire dynamic. She sees it now. She may not be able to describe it, but she feels it. You are solid. You are disciplined. You are rare. And because you don't need her validation, she offers it freely. Not out of obligation, but out of awe. This is when she leans in, not out of fear or manipulation, but because she finally feels safe in your strength. This is the moment you stop being someone she can toy with and start being someone she must reckon with. You earned her respect, not by force, but by presence, not by charm, but by conviction. You are unshakable, and that is what she sees. A woman will test you. She will challenge your words, question your intent, and push against your boundaries, not because she is malicious, but because she is wired to seek strength. Tests are not cruelty. They are often unconscious attempts to feel safe. What she truly wants to know is this: can you hold your ground without losing your temper? Can you hear her chaos without becoming chaotic yourself? Can you remain a man, centered in himself, regardless of who or what pulls at him? This is where so many men fail, not because they're weak, but because they seek approval more than they seek mastery. They perform, they react, they over-explain. But the man who chooses stillness over validation, who embraces discomfort instead of avoiding it, who leads with presence instead of persuasion, that man commands quiet respect. And in that silence, the dynamic shifts forever. True strength is quiet. It doesn't need to announce itself. It doesn't plead to be understood. It simply is. That's why Epictetus said, "If you want to improve, be content to be thought foolish and stupid." It's not about how others see you. It's about how deeply you know yourself. When you stop needing her to see you a certain way, she begins to see you clearly. You don't win her respect by trying harder. You win it by letting go of performance, of approval, of emotional dependence. You stand where you are and say less. You let your actions, your silence, your steadiness speak for you. So now I ask you, what was that moment for you? The moment when you realized that your self-control earned more respect than anything you could have said. Share it in the comments, not just to be heard, but to help someone else find their strength too. Respect is not something you demand. It's something you embody. And when you master yourself, it follows, without you having to ask.